Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another LP Alliance live stream. We are LP Alliance, an intercaucus coalition rebuilding and revolutionizing the Libertarian Party. My name is Amanda Griffiths. I'm not joined by Kyle Davis. He's just here. But since you are here, sure. Kyle, how was your weekend?
It's been a pretty good weekend, but I, at this point, seem to be trapped on this live stream and don't know how to leave.
Yeah,
so
no,
I'm just
that
here
was
forever. I just live here now.
That was my doing. We did have an eventful weekend. We had five conventions, and 4 or 5 victories. I think the non-victory we can get out of the way pretty quickly, which is Rhode Island. Rhode Island's been in a tough spot for a long time in terms of just how disenchanted people are. And I know that, Kyle, you were doing a lot of work trying to get people organized, and it's tough. It's really tough when there is corruption at the national level. It's tough when there's corruption at the state level, and people just kind of give up. And so I think Rhode Island is a good case study in what happens when this kind of thing just continues.
Oh, for sure. It, not a lot of people showed up. They're down to 27 members nationally. The fact is that, the party has not been, the party in Rhode Island has not been doing well. So the few people who are left who are a little bit organized tend to not be the ones agreeing with us. So it, Joe is already sad that we don't have our red background. This is not our news stream. This is
not our news stream. I'm just still wearing the fake leather jacket because I go that hard.
This is our version of Weekend Recap. We're like Saturday Night Live, but less funny. That's probably not true anymore. We're like Saturday Night Live if Saturday Night Live was still funny.
Are we funny?
Compared to Saturday Night Live at this point? Yeah. You see the modern Saturday Night Live, it's painful.
Anyway.
Rhode Island was a pretty limited convention overall. There weren't that many people there. They kind of followed their status quo. Kind of the same people got reelected. Is what it is. We'll be reaching out to people who are liberty-minded once we have better data from Project Archimedes and from some of our other big data analysis groups, and we will reach out in LPRI and try to get them growing.
And that is, sorry, go for it.
It's just kind of a case, like, I wish that the people who were there would work with us. I've tried to reach out to people and they just ignore it. So.
Yeah, and to pull back the curtain a little bit without giving a ton of stuff away, I mean, basically what we do at LP Alliance, and we do have an affiliate group as well, is we mobilize delegates. We organize and we mobilize. That's it. And so when we talk about these victories, they're victories for the party. They're victories for, I would argue, all of you and all of us. Certainly, they're victories that we are really. I'm psyched that I even get to play a small part in some of them, and I don't play anywhere near the part that other people do. I just say the words at the camera. But
you also type the words for the screen.
I do type the words for the screen as well. This is true. I type the words for the screen. I say the words for the camera. But so when we talk about these victories, they feel they are both personal and political. And it was a great weekend. We had an upset as well, and where we want to get into all of the nitty-gritty of it. Kyle, you were not at a convention this past weekend. You were able to see things a little bit more clearly without the fog of war. So, in some respects, whereas I was in upstate Wisconsin. So, talk a little bit about this upset. Talk about how that all went down, because when I got that, I was on the convention floor.
So I, as people who saw the Sunday show may have noticed, was busy being dead Sunday. I was in bed and just the world was spinning, and it wasn't from alcohol, so it wasn't a good reason to spin. So I was watching everything from a phone for the most part, going back and forth through a computer to check numbers and check in with everybody across this particular workstation. Delaware is no longer, Mises held. Mises made a play. Nothing happened. It fizzled out entirely. It's surprising. And we have watched some of our like Mises folks who want the Mises caucus to continue to win be upset about it. And they're like, Mises didn't even show up. And it's like, well, yeah, like, you're at this point, Heiss is basically completely gone from the picture. And so you're relying on Angela McArdle to do things. She doesn't. She never has.
Reliable? She has a job now,
No.
Kyle. She has a very real job and it lives in Canada. She can't show you pictures of it because her phone battery is dead.
Makes sense. Yeah. So Delaware had a bunch of old hats come out and kind of pull things back together. And so after several years now of LP Delaware kind of, struggling to find its way, it looks like LP Delaware is, back on the menu, boys. So I'm pretty excited about it. It's a we had reached out to people in Delaware and tried to get people together from either side, trying to get people who were pro-libertarian. And most people were just so burned out. So we expected LP Delaware to be a lot like LP Rhode Island. And it turned out people were just laying low and they had their plan and they didn't want us to know about it or be part of it, which is neat. I have felt like there's been a lot of work to get with people and get organizers together and get things flowing and going. And the fact that Delaware did it without us having to like whip anybody or yell or anything, that's awesome. Now, I fully intend to try to pull them into our fold because, they have done what we were wanting to do anyway. And these people are people who want to run candidates and want to make the LP great again. So they're exactly the kind of people that I want. So I intend to reach out to their board and be like, hey guys, if you want to have a say in this, please come have a say in this thing and, join the alliance and make us bigger and better everywhere.
Yeah, that is the thing that we've talked a little bit about it within LP Alliance as well. In case you all haven't noticed, we're loud. We talk about things. We shout and we get in trouble and we call people out. There are other folks who, for very good and understandable reasons, don't want to do that. And so, but there have been arguments, we've had arguments about whether that's useful at this point, right? When there's so much, morale has been so low for so long that it can be tough if you don't see things happening. It can be tough to get back in the game. And so that's part of what we do at LP Alliance. That's part of what our job is we broadcast those victories, tell you what's going on so that the people who do want to stay anonymous and continue to work underground can keep doing that. There is a much bigger network than probably I even know. There's a bigger network than a lot of us know. And we keep information decentralized for that reason. But when we have the conventions, it is fun to watch everything come together. So Kyle, what I'm hearing you say though is that even you didn't know what was happening in this case.
Yeah, I am aware of over 800 people across the country who are organizing and trying to fight and trying to get everything together and get the Libertarian Party back together to be moving forward. And despite being relatively high up and knowing folks, it wasn't known. And that's awesome. That's a great thing. I haven't seen a single negative comment about anybody from any of the organizing groups. It's all been just cheering. Delaware is, freedom for Delaware has been the overwhelming call everywhere. Because at the end of the day, we're libertarians. We don't want there to be any centralized power. That's the big thing that most of us have a problem with as far as like McArdle and Heiss go. Anybody who wants to be a king needs to be dethroned.
And anyone who wants to be a kingmaker also needs to be dethroned. As our Death to Kingmakers flag can attest. Not real death. We are not advocating for violating the NAP. I'm contractually obligated to say that.
It's true.
It's true that I'm contractually obligated to say that.
Yeah, it's otherwise she doesn't get paid her $0 salary.
That's correct.
So, as an intermediary, before going into big things with the three states we really were pushing in, National has officially sold Civi off to a private company who is working directly with the Libertarian Party to try to make sure that for the states that want to transition over to their own city, there is someone there to help them who is actually working to make sure the old national city is completely up to date. All the things that, like Angela said, that she was going to get done, they're actually being done. We should see the fruits of that within the next couple months. It's
Will we
kind of
know you by
expected
your
that,
fruits?
Indeed.
Will we know you?
We're expecting by July to be able to actually see a fully operational city again for anyone that wants the city side. Obviously, the group that I'm still with is pushing Zoho. We're working on Zoho and getting it ready for everything and productionalizing it because that is the direction National has decided to go. But now there will be more option and those two things will be synced. So
Kyle, tell the people again what these things do. Because
these are our CRMs, our customer relationship management software.
Thank you.
So every member, every potential member, any voter data we get in, voter files, L2 Haystack data, Prometheus data, all of it, Aristotle data, all of it gets added into this CRM. And so we can see who's been paying what when. Maybe someone's only been a $2 donor so that they can $2 and whatever cents, $2.05 donor, so that they can get the $25 a year to barely stay. That may be a person we can reach out to and say, hey man, we've been seeing you've been doing the $2.15 realistically. Would you mind going to $3? And that doesn't sound like a whole lot of money, but the additional $10 a year across all of our people is a lot of money. We need to push donations right now. It's very important for the Libertarian Party. And this is a core way for all the data that's coming in to exist and get this out to states and get this out to everybody else. This Project Archimedes, the Libertarian Data Warehouse, the data analytics team that we had on a few weeks ago with Dr. Dave Schrader and Alexa Maffey and me and Carter and everybody else. We have to have a place to organize that data and put it. And at the end of the day, once we've crunched data, that data has to go into a CRM so that people that aren't data analysts can use that data. The tools in Civi and Zoho are the best ways for places to do that. There are people that want National's solution and want to be on National's, and there are people that want their own. And a lot of the ones that want their own are just spinning up Civi because it's mostly free for the actual Civi instance, and they want to migrate from National. So having Civi back online fully means that they can do that and they can control their own. They can control their own and can connect with other states and share data that's relevant for national candidates and everything. It's a much more decentralized and potentially much nicer and better solution than we've ever had before. We're setting up to really do data in a way the Libertarian Party has never been able to before. And at the end of the day, we're smarter than the Union Party. So I would expect that we'll be able to leverage that data much harder than they will so that we can end up, actually pulling in some wins from this. We can find where the best places are, where the best people are, and target those people with the best money. And give them a black eye, hopefully. Give them a good shot across the bow.
We've been using similar targeting when it comes to recruiting delegates to come out and show up. And that's one of the areas where I wish I were better at it. There are some, like Phil, for instance. Phil is like the king of cold calls. Phil Ryan in NLP Alliance. He'll just like make them, and he'll make a best friend on every new phone call. So shout out to Phil, because he and Tom as well both do an amazing job with what we call strike force. I am a product of my generation, so I mostly just like, I send a text and then I hate myself. So I truly do. And it's wonderful to have people who are much better at that than I am. Now, to recap a little bit, by the way, we're seeing if we can wait to get Rob Yates in here, who is wonderful, and so we're trying to share extra details so that we can give Rob some time to come in, but we also want to keep you entertained. So when it comes to the wins that we had, so we're looking at Delaware, we're looking at West Virginia, we're looking at Kansas. We didn't talk about Kansas so much yet. We're looking at Wisconsin. We didn't talk about Wisconsin so much yet. One thing that I have noticed, and perhaps we'll get into this a little bit more, Joe, I can juggle ideas and opinions, is what I can do. He's asking, can either of us juggle? I can sing.
3 hacky stack it.
I can sing.
If I have 3 hacky sacks, I can do it, but I do not have 3 hacky sacks about. Sorry.
I am a very, very flexible yogini, and if I were if the camera were set up right, I could do some fun poses for you, but not right now.
Let's throw in a joke. It's Joe Hanoush.
Let's throw in a joke.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you have a joke, Kyle?
Yeah,
well,
Joe Hanoush.
But here in ha. See, there we go. Libertarians organizing was a joke. What I've noticed has been how factionalism really is dying. And perhaps, like I said, we'll get into that a little bit more when we start talking about Wisconsin. But we have people, and we've been saying this from the beginning, and people have been laughing. They shouldn't have been. We have people in Mises who have been talking with us, working with us, and who are still very much aligned with Mises ideology. We are not demanding lockstep. We never have been. What we want is we want a libertarian party that puts liberty first. Okay, we want a libertarian party that champions free will, individualism, self-ownership, and that actually gets real victories. Right? We want to be individualists for all individuals.
I have a pretty good rant on that one if you want.
Yes, please do your rant.
So, it has been said these past several months that the freedom of Ross Ulbricht is the biggest win in libertarian history. And I think that that's so painfully wrong that it really bothers me. I love that Ross Ulbricht's free. It's a great thing. It's justice for Ross. And I think that there's no one here that would argue that we're against justice for Ross. I think we're all very much glad that Ross Ulbricht is free. Justice for Ross at the expense of less justice for everyone else is not great. It's not a good thing. If you go out and you make your own Silk Road now, you make your own exact clone of what Ross did, President Trump is pushing for the death penalty. There's not 11 years in prison and then you can get a pardon. There is you die. That's not good. That's not a win. And as far as liberty goes, no liberty has been advanced. So if that's our biggest win, we have been nothing but a failure. And that's basically what the argument is with Ross being freed. But I've been in this party for 25 years. I've watched the wins happen. I watched as we went libertarian groups out in Colorado organized and screamed and shouted until Colorado legalized weed. And once Colorado did, California did. And we've watched it. It's taken a long time. You know, I think that was 2008, I think. I should have had that ready. So, you know, it's 17 years, but they just knocked down the criminal schedule of weed nationally. Every state's looking at it. Almost every state has legalized at least medical marijuana, and it's not hard to get. That is forwarding liberty. That's what it looks like. Liberty is not this easy one thing where you blackmail somebody for a one-time win. Pot's been legalized or decriminalized, depending, across almost the entire country. That is a huge win for the Libertarian Party. Chase does have a good point here. It should be cannabis. Weed is the government term to make cannabis seem sketchy. He's absolutely correct. It's just the one that is still in my head forever. Hey, Starfield. And we did that. When you look at LGBTQ rights, when you look at gay marriage, the Libertarian Party fought alongside LGBTQ people from the inception for gay marriage. And even though we've had candidates and people who are against it, Chase will smoke weed or cannabis. It doesn't matter to Chase as long as it's good. We've won that. It's been part of the Libertarian platform since 1974, at least. That's the oldest copy of the platform that I have. That we are for that drug decriminalization. We're against drug war things. I'm sorry. We're for gay marriage things. I apologize. I was thinking back about smoking weed.
We're for gay marriage and
cannabis.
Drugs. We want
Yes.
to arm
We want our
drag
gays
queens
married and high,
so that they can defend their their meth labs.
Exactly. And I agree with Joe. Like, we've all lost all of our cannabis in a boating accident, along with all of our firearms, our Bitcoin, and our immigrants. None of our immigrants are here anymore. They all sunk somewhere.
Nope. The icy waters.
Yeah, the icy waters. I get it. We fought until the Democrats were forced to take up the bullhorn about gay marriage because they were losing power, and it was well known and understood. Yes, Obergefell is a big win for the especially the progressive Democrats. But the people who pushed that, the people who really got that in as a brainworm to everybody, were heavily libertarians. Our party doesn't always win vote-wise. Our party does win on ideology. Our party pulls people together in a way that the uniparty can't do. And so, having been part of this group for 25 years, watching people balk at social rights, social justice warrior, woke, etc. It's like, we are woke. We are social justice warriors. We're real social justice warriors, not just blue-haired crazies in a leather jacket.
It's not all blue. It's black and cerulean, Kyle. I wanted to flex my individualist bona fides. People were calling me a collectivist. I just wanted to do some individualist anarchism colors for the people tonight.
Well, I do, in fact, like the hair a lot.
Thank you.
That effort and that work has been huge. At the end of the day, libertarians were part of the feminist fight. Libertarians have been part of every single step to push for individual liberty. Economic freedom is important. It is the goal. But all the parts that are social with it, all the parts that are social are part of that economic freedom. If you don't get to live as yourself, you can't be free, no matter how much your money's free. If the government gets to decide that you can't be with who you love, if the government decides that you can't live with the people you want to live with, if you can't live where you want to live, even though you've bought the area, like, imagine that concept. In Georgia, mixed usage housing is illegal. In, like, at least in Atlanta. I haven't looked everywhere, but I'm pretty sure it's statewide. You cannot live above your shop. You buy a shop in Midtown Atlanta, you own the whole building, you can't put an apartment on the top floor to be the places you live. That's absolutely batshit insane. Like, how great would it be to live and be able to walk downstairs to work? You don't need a car, no pollution, no additional bills or anything else. But we're being told we can't do that.
Kyle, it sounds like what you're describing is a 15-minute city and a walkable city. And I have been told by the Freedom Republicans that walkable cities are communism.
I personally love driving, and I don't necessarily want to be in a place where I can't drive. And like when I went to Rome, it was in fact a pain in the ass to not be able to drive into Rome.
I love it.
Not being able to drive into it as someone who was touring across the entire continent in a car, it made it a pain to be like, well, where am I going to park? Where are we going to get into the city, etc. But that's because I hadn't done enough research beforehand to know how to do it. It had never hit my mind before that there might be a situation where you just can't drive into the city. And doing it was cool. Once you're in and like you can walk places and everything else, that's great. Mixed usage scenarios are great. As someone who started their aerospace career as a traffic engineer, you should do research on stroads. Stroads are the combination of streets and roads, portmanteaued together. They're bad for everybody. So a street is walkable. It's where like people exist and they have priority. A road is a place for cars. When you put those things together, it is awful because cars and people don't mix well. That's how people die. So if you intentionally designed things so that cars have an area and people have an area, and they rarely, if ever, come into contact with each other, things are good. When you like, for anyone who's ever been through Midtown Atlanta, it is batshit terrifying.
I'm routinely with you when you're on the phone, or sorry, when I'm on the phone with you, and you're driving through Atlanta, telling me about crazy people. So yeah.
You get people who get tired of waiting on the lights, and so they just walk across. And I'm like, you're not gonna fucking hit me. You're not gonna pay that hospital bill. And you get people who, if you're walking, just blow red lights and things, or they don't see you and they turn in front of you, and it's horrible and it's dangerous. People die. If you can design places such that doesn't happen, that's great. And that's what the idea of walkable cities are. Should we tear down all of our cities and replace them immediately with walkable ones? No. But over time, as you're refurbishing areas, there's no reason to not consider it.
And community-led initiatives are, I love them. They are the backbone of so much activism. Chosen issue community-led initiatives. As we're talking about all this, as we're talking about the way that we mobilize people for conventions, I also have to think about the way that we can mobilize people all across the country for other events and other demonstrations and other types of collective action. That this doesn't just have to be a Libertarian Party specifically convention effort, right? This can be about something so much bigger. And that's part of why we hype this as well. That yes, we're excited to, to revive the Libertarian Party, but why are we doing that, right? And part of the reason for that is for causes, for libertarian causes. And I'm excited to keep going. I'm excited to keep going after the Grand Rapids Revolution and continue to do the work that we're doing. HOAs are a great example of why the government is terrible, is basically what I get.
I see things like what Joe's describing here happen all the time. And I'm going to throw rapid math at you because I'm terrible. 25 squared is 625. 35 squared is 1,225. That's about double. Okay. If we take 30 relative to 60, the difference is 4. 88 feet per second at 60. So divide that by 4. 22 feet. So about 25 feet for your average car is the stopping distance at 30 miles an hour. So, as previously noted, it's about double between the two. So you were talking like 40 feet versus 20 feet to completely come to a stop between 35 and 25 miles an hour. You are saying that there is a situation where you will not have at least 20 feet of sightline and the time to stop because something is going to be less than 20 feet from you. That's stupid. All you have to do in any neighborhood case is make sure your roads are wide. If you have a problem where it's it's scary for people, make sure they're not parking on the street that they don't own. If people are on the street and you have all that space, you cannot possibly have a difference in who you'd hit and the problem that would be there between 35 and 25 miles an hour. And if you're not paying attention, yes. Do you have slightly more time to react? Sure. But it's not much. They just narrowed it for the bike lanes. That's exactly what they do everywhere. It's called a traffic diet because they have found that God, you got me onto a thing that I'm mad about.
Yeah, Kyle is Kyling right now, and I'm trying to figure out like when do I jump in and be like, Kyle, we're talking about conventions. If you can find a way to tie it back to the conventions, Kyle.
Will do.
Okay, thank you.
So it's harder to get conventions when
dilatory.
there are road diets. But so the only thing that's ever been found to slow people down is narrowing the lanes. And so they'll narrow the lanes by adding bike lanes. You know the problem with putting a bicycle right beside people? You
Everyone
hit
hits
the
cyclists.
cyclist.
That's not a
Yeah.
problem.
Oh, well, not violated. There goes your $0.
Tried so hard, even if it blew in my hair. You can't see the books on the table or anything. Sorry, go on.
It goes back to that Strode problem. It goes back to the government trying to force a solution that doesn't work, which is legitimately the entire point of our party, right? That's why our conventions exist. That's why we get people together to do things. Higher parking meter fees encourage larger volumes of traffic? Good Lord.
Point of order? Is this, we were getting back on topic?
Good Lord. Turtlenecks or poggers is correct here. That is the government way.
5 conventions this weekend.
Yes.
5 conventions. All right.
We touched on 2 of them.
We touched on 2. We can go back into further detail on a couple of them though, if
Sure.
you'd like, if you have more to share.
Sure, that's fine. So in Rhode Island's case, Pat Ford has won that seat. Congratulations to Pat Ford. As anyone who's watched any of our LNC streams know, I consider Pat Ford a person that I almost never agree with on political things. It's Swampcast! And that's not a personal thing. It's just that I don't agree with him. And so, like at this last LNC meeting, I said it was Pat Ford's greatest LNC meeting of all time because I agreed with him at least 3 times. It was incredible. He is now the chair of Rhode Island. He's also still the region, I get these backwards in my head, region 6. What are they called? District representative.
District reps, yes.
Yep, the Region 6 representative for the LNC. And so the only real change as far as that goes is Pat Ford stepping up. Delaware had a bunch of old hats step in, and I'd have to look their names up because I didn't know them very well. But both of those were very smooth conventions, which is a thing that we want to see too. Even if we lose, it's better if the convention isn't some violent bullshit, right? We won in Georgia. It was great. We still have a Mises chair. I like Jared. I don't always agree with Jared, but I like Jared. I think he actually believes in the party and believes in everything there. I think that is important and that we really should be pushing for that everywhere. I believe that TJ Cozen does LPRI's website, and so I would bet money that it is updated. It's not. I lied. Alas, poor York.
So we had 2 conventions where we didn't expect to win. One of them was Rhode Island, where we had a complete drop off, just in momentum and inertia, and that's always really sad. Right. And I know there was an effort made to get people back in. And again, that when this kind of thing happens, there has been a marked diminution, and not just donations, but membership as well. And yes, especially in small states with small parties, I mean, that can be lethal. And, we don't even have a party in Wyoming anymore. We don't even have an affiliate, which is terrible, right? So we had that with Rhode Island.
They sort of exist.
well, yeah, they sort of exist.
That
We
one's
have-
coming, Swamp. You gotta give us a second, Tim.
It wasn't
We're
a
getting there.
blowout. It was just fun. Yes. So, and then when it came to Delaware, we also did not expect to see a victory because we had that underground organizing. These feed on one another, right? If you're only, and we talked about this a little bit at the start of the show, if you're only doing underground organizing, then people aren't going to see it. And they're not going to be involved. So when it comes to mobilizing delegates, yes, it's important to, if you're a sniper, you don't want to scream out to your enemy, hey, I'm over here. So you want to keep your cards close, right? But you also want to be broadcasting that there's something going on, right? You want to be talking about the ideas. You want to be showing people, hey, we're here, we're helping, not giving too much away, but showing a presence. And this is what I love about our movement, is that we have that more silent element. We have that more sniper kind of military element, I almost think of it. And then we have the public facing, communicative element. I think that is part of what is contributing to success now, as well as being, right, since we are an intercaucus coalition, we have to be careful. There's a lot of stuff that we don't agree on. Kyle is a filthy classical liberal, and I'm going to send him to a gulag one day. But I'll have an entire wing just named for him. But anyway, so we don't agree on a ton. But what we do agree on is what LP Alliance's statement of purpose is. And that is a very targeted, narrow, specific set of things that we can all agree on to get us through the door. And then we can work together and we can have those fights, we can have those arguments, we can have those discussions, right? I've been thinking a lot this past weekend about what our secret thus far has been. And it's really it's that combination of factors. How we communicate in different ways, given the intention, given the campaign, given the job at hand, whether we're loud or quiet. And we recruit by being both specific and narrow, right? If you have a big tent coalition, you have to be specific about what you want, and it has to be a very targeted set of demands. Because if you're not specific enough, nobody gets involved. They're like, I don't even know what they stand for. If you are if you're too broad in what you demand, then you have a very, very small group of people coming together because you can only agree on so much. So I like the combination that we have going, and
Absolutely.
it's been really exciting to see. I think this past weekend especially was a huge encouragement. Especially when we had the upset.
We did just get info from Rob that he won't be able to be here till 9.
Okay.
And so it is time to continue on.
Kansas.
I think you're doing Kansas first.
Yeah, we can do Kansas.
Okay. So Kansas was a pretty incredible effort. Kansas has been, oh my goodness. Turtleneck with name it the Joe Bonanza. Just say your name again after Joe Biden Sr. For the attempted renaming of LP Florida that's going on in the chat right now. So Kansas was a giant effort by a lot of people. There were a bunch of the radicals that were unhappy there. And as everybody knows, the Radical Caucus is one of the caucuses that actually gets shit done.
Woohoo!
But they're mad. They're always mad.
Yeah, because we got a lot to be mad about.
And a great former chair has come back in Rob. And so they're under new old management, but the convention was out in the middle of nowhere. They had a hard time getting people there, and they still brought 2/3 to sweep literally everything. Every single position that anyone affiliated with us ran for, they won. I think there are 2 people out of their board that are still Mises, but they still, as I've explained on here before, if I say Mises, I am shorthanding it to specifically the is a meaning for the Mises leadership that has been problematic over these past few years, not to actual people who are in Mises. One of our listeners right now is still very much in Mises, and he was going to be on the show with us tonight, and Rob. We like anybody who is for fixing the party. We like anybody who's willing to get work done. We like anybody who's willing to run candidates. And that includes anybody who has an MC next to their name.
Mm-hmm.
It's only a problem if you don't want to run candidates and you want to be JV Republicans. That's it.
Right.
And so in Kansas, it was a slaughtering. Olivia and Rob's team went ham. They won everything. They are incredible organizers. They organized across the state. They brought people back who've been gone for years, like longer than the whole Mises argument has been around. They brought people back from a decade ago to get involved in the party again. They brought in new blood, totally new members. It was awesome to watch. And they came out and they executed. So Amanda wants to.
I tried to make a map. And I'm not sure if you pull it up, you will see colors, or if you will just see gray.
Just see gray.
Oh no, okay. Maybe I can present. So we're trying to do a victory map here. Oh dear. Let's see here. Do I want to do this?
There is a share on that.
Yes, is what I'm trying to do. All right, and you will need to correct me. So we're trying to do. Here we go. Is that going to work? I added a screenshot. There we go. Does that look about accurate? So what we tried to do is we tried to have a map of places where we have had definitive Allied victories this cycle, and or can expect an Allied victory because it's basically 0% Mises. We have places where we have had a Mises victory this cycle, and most of these states will have most of the states that are colored will have conventions as well in 2026 that might shake some things up. So we're trying to design this victory map and update it as things go on. Right now, Allied states are yellow. Mises states are red. You see Pennsylvania is orange. It's about 50-50. Now, if you want to just take chair victories as being indicative of Allied or Mises, we would make Georgia red or orange at least, because there is a Mises chair in Georgia, but apart from that, Allied. And so, yes, does this look about accurate to you, Kyle?
Yes. How is Georgia not orange? Because we took 14 out of the 23 seats on the XCOM. And so, and of the remainder, 3 of them are neutral. So there are specifically only 6 people who are even Mises aligned there. And of them, they're all reasonable people who are willing to work with everybody. They are not people who have to wait on marching orders from Heiss, like Josiah from Tennessee, who I'm calling out directly. Which has been funny these past few weeks, as a matter of fact, as Josiah has realized that God King Trump has not, in fact, done the things he said he would, and that it's been how is all this wrong? It's wrong because you trusted the Uniparty. That's it. That's the whole answer. The Uniparty will always fuck us. That's the entire reason so many of us are mad about it. That's the entire reason we don't want people who want to work with the Republicans in here. And not on a single issue coalition, but on an overall thing. We cannot ally with anyone from the Uniparty because the Uniparty will always Uniparty. It's why, and this is not a popular opinion, it's why I don't think that we should, as long as he is with the Republicans, we should ally with Thomas Massie, even though he has tons and tons of great libertarian takes. But at the end of the day, for him to maintain his seat, he is at least somewhat beholden to the Republicans. He has to play their game to stay in play. And so if we make an alliance with Thomas Massie, for instance, and the Republicans say, "Hey, you got to cut these libertarian ties because that's the only way we're going to get you through," he will cut us.
We can do single issue coalitions though, and I think that's the important thing too. I mean,
Yes,
I
absolutely.
don't care about purity when it comes to your party affiliation if you're doing a single issue coalition. If we're talking about
Exactly.
cannabis, if we're talking about anti-war, if we're talking about the gig
To the
economy, if
core.
we're talking about kicking frickin' big labor to the streets and supporting local independent worker empowerment, if we're talking about that, I want to align with anyone and everyone, because that is the only way that we get our foot in the door, and that is the only way that we get liberty. But when it comes
Absolutely.
to long-term overall alliances, right? Who's in the party, who's not? I want people who are libertarians. I want to fight.
Yes.
I want to stand next to people who agree with us on whatever issue when we're fighting for that issue. When we're fighting as libertarians, we fight as libertarians, not as an arm of some other party working through some other party. That is what a party caucus does. And as long as Republicans already have their North Star in Donald Trump, which they do, it's going great for the Republicans in terms of the fact that they have the political power. Zero incentive to change course. They're happy, and they're kind of annoyed when people are griping about the mass deportations. It's annoying to them. They're not going to change course because we're being cute about it.
Right. Absolutely.
We build this party from this party, not somewhere
Yes.
else.
And that's really the thing. Like, so as an example from a personal perspective, I talked about a minute ago the folks who are Mises here in Georgia. Jared Bell is our chair. I actually legitimately like Jared. I don't agree with Jared on some stuff. And that's because at the end of the day, his brand of libertarianism is Hoppianism. I've made fun of Hoppianism on here over and over and over. I will gladly, to his face, tell him that I think that Hoppe and most of the Hoppians are communists. And I will sit down and have that discussion with him. I respect Jared. And he actually does a pretty good job of leading meetings and everything else. In my ideal world, he would be treasurer instead because he's got a financial background, and I think he would absolutely slaughter it in the treasury spot again. But that's an entire separate issue. That's in my idealized world. The people voted. He got the spot. He's doing his job. He's making sure things are working. We've got some big ballot access things coming up. We're going after the state. Our vice chair is anti-caucus all around. He is legitimately one of the hardest working libertarians I've ever seen. Brian Allen, he is not in the spotlight ever because he doesn't like being in front of people. He doesn't want to. It is true that everyone hates the treasurer, but I promise if Jared ends up watching this, I don't want him to be the treasurer because I hate him. It's just that I think that he is our best person in LP Georgia for treasurer right now. Where was I before I got Jode?
You were talking about the character of various individuals, but you can think about that because I want to answer. Oh, sorry, go if you had a thought.
But like Brian's a person who's in the background. Brian doesn't want to be a face of things, but he edits a publication LP Georgia makes called Liberty Watch. They take the time, and I guess we take the time because I'm now going to join that group and be helping with it, to find every single bill, motion, etc., that's coming across politicians in Georgia's desk, and we publish a thing on them explaining what they're doing, what they're for, who put it out, everything else. If you haven't ever seen anything like that, I encourage you to go to LP Georgia's website, lpgeorgia.com, and sign up for Liberty Watch. Yes, it won't pertain to your state because it's all Georgia, but you'll see what great libertarian ideals can look like, where we're actually reaching out and something that we're actually doing. It's something that you can, like when your family and friends are like, oh, what do libertarians do? Be like, here's the legislation where we're working directly with Georgia State Senator. Here's the things we're doing. Here's what we want to change. Here's what we want to fix. And people like when there's a plan. If they hear that we have a plan, we do better as a party.
That
So
was
that's
one of the LP Alliance things. It's one of the first things that we did when we got off the ground is, okay, people are waiting for someone who has a plan or some kind of plan of action, and they need to see it. Because a lot of people, we knew a lot of people wanted something to change, but you're not going to get anywhere if you just find a group of people and they say, well, I want something to change. Okay, great, me too. That doesn't bring people in. Building a coalition and collective action is hard enough. And it's really hard for libertarians. Like, I have been agonizing over this for years and years and years, trying to figure this out. So one of the first things that you do is, yes, again, you have a list of goals that you want, and then you also have a plan. Let's see. I had a question. Yeah. We had a question from, Real Swampcast. What contributed more to these results? The Mises Caucus fell off, or the other groups grew larger and ran the table? I'm leaning towards the former right now. I understand why you're saying that. As someone who is part of helping these groups grow, and a couple in particular, it's definitely part of the Mises Caucus falling off. Yes, these are not unrelated variables, of course. You had some people, the Mises Caucus fell off, and they came to these other groups.
Yep. We have a lot of Mises Caucus people. We have some current Mises Caucus people.
Yes. It's really, even if the Mises Caucus fell off, that would not necessarily contribute to victory for an LP Alliance type initiative, right? It's not just that we're finding states where there have been non-Mises candidates and seeing who's winning, right? These are people who we talk with. We know who they are. In some cases, in a lot of cases, they come to us and we work with them. In other cases, we find what that slate is and we'll talk with them and help to mobilize. So this is more than just, okay, well, who are the people who aren't Mises? If they won, then so did we. It's more involved than that. And so this really is a movement that we're looking at. It's a movement of people coming in and, yes, trying to run the table. If the Mises Caucus fell off, we would see different groups coming in and taking the board, taking XCOM in these different states, but they wouldn't necessarily be affiliated or alliance-backed groups. This is a common movement. And so when we brand these as alliance victories, we're saying we know who these people are. We've worked with them in many cases. We have made sure that they have the same ideas and goals, for their party as we do, which is nothing, it's nothing insidious at all. Basically, we're trying to kick factionalism to the curb. We want a strong libertarian party. And a lot of these boards, Wisconsin in particular, was very eye-opening for me. A lot of these boards, they're focused on their state, right? And I think that's a great thing. These people want to help their state party succeed and do things within their state and be more of a formidable force within their state legislatures and against the duopoly in their state. So these are all good things. And I would say it's a combination of both, but there's much more of a concentrated and organized and growing movement to the extent that it freaks me out in a cool way.
So I wanted to respond to Tim's comment here. Sean Kennedy is the chair of Massachusetts, and he just won a town council seat. Goodness, I can't read today. Strong competition. That's a good thing. Did we back him in Massachusetts? No, absolutely not. And realistically, there's a good chance that since Massachusetts has another convention before next year, we'll probably bring another LPA slate to Massachusetts next year and have a bigger backing there. That doesn't mean that Sean Kennedy can't be part of it. Oh, gotcha. Tim pointed out that was in response to saying someone else was the best chair in the country. Gotcha. That's fair. It's like we're not against anybody though. Like if Sean Kennedy sees this or hears about this, we'd love to talk to him. We want winners. It's not about like that's why Amanda starts every episode with the fact that we're an intercaucus coalition. It's if you're in the LP Alliance Discord, over on the side there's there's admins at the top, but then Ron Paul Libertarians, no affiliation, and then you've got all the different caucuses and all the different groups to show everybody what it is. That includes Mises, anarcho-capitalists, radical caucus, Prags. There is someone from the Prags in our server.
I think there's more than one. I've seen a couple.
Gotcha. It's there's only at least one online right now.
Yeah.
There's people from the CLC. There's like this is literally a coalition where the CLC and the Mises caucus are working together. I don't know how much further apart you want those to be.
I just think you both are crazy. Quite
That's
frankly,
fair.
you're both roommates in the gulag.
I mean, I'm in both the Rads and the CLC.
Yeah, we've talked about that, Kyle.
Yep, it's to get you wrecked.
Yeah, it's to make me angry personally.
But
okay.
it's true. But like it's a coalition where the Rads and the Prags are on the same side, where the ANCOMs and ANCAPs are on the same side. There are
libertarian socialists, yeah.
Libertarian socialists
have entered the chat.
The ANCAPs.
They have entered the chat.
So it's absolutely something where we're not about caucuses. We're about the Libertarian Party being great. And with that, speaking of greatness, Amanda doesn't get to be the lead on a thing because she was on the ground in Wisconsin, and she is our own elected Madam Secretary now. So in Wisconsin, give us an overview.
So Wisconsin was really interesting for a couple of reasons. For people who don't know, and I was one of those people, Wisconsin is going to play a really unique role this particular cycle for just random happenstance reasons. Wisconsin is part of Region 1. As I've already had pink hair. Or wait, are you talking about?
They're making
Kaya?
a Karen Ann joke.
Okay. I gotcha.
Yeah, our Madam Secretary.
Yeah.
While I personally like Karen Ann a lot, I am not against making fun of anybody. And I think Karen Ann would also be perfectly fine with anyone laughing about the pink hair because she also acknowledges that it is very pink.
Yeah. And I agree with Tommy. It's really not just the anti-Mises caucus anymore. We were never like the anti-Mises caucus.
He means the CLC.
Okay. Yeah. But true. So yeah, Wisconsin's part of Region 1. And this was the result of kind of a unilateral decision by the Wisconsin LP's former chair. That chair was removed under circumstances that made that chair's backers, understandably angry. So there's a lot of intrastate bad blood that came as the result of a decision that was made in order to empower the Mises caucus more. So Region 1 is supposed to be the Mises super region. The larger the region, the more power you have for national. So there was this attempt to basically make a huge Mises maximalist region where then they could overwhelm the LNC. So it was a nationally oriented reason, but it caused very, very state-specific bad blood in Wisconsin. And Wisconsin is also, and maybe Kyle can explain this a little bit better. Wisconsin also stands to play a role when it comes to Andrew Chatterton in Michigan. So there's that as well. We were talking with individuals both in and out of the Mises caucus in Wisconsin. And honestly, the one thing that came across was that we were talking with people who really cared about the Wisconsin Libertarian Party. When I was talking with folks from Mises, I was talking with people who had a vision for the Wisconsin LP and who wanted it to be a functional party, wanted it to be a strong party. And when I was talking with folks on a non-Mises slate, I was also talking with people who wanted the same things, broadly speaking. In the process of working with, because some of us are novices here, some of us are new to various types of organizing, and we know that Mises has done a good job with this sort of thing. Part of what we're trying to do, albeit in a much more above ground way, we're telling you what we're doing because we want you to know, and we want you to join us. We want you to help. But we know that the Mises Caucus has done good organizational work from a purely neutral perspective. When we get people from Mises talking to us, we are excited. We are excited because there is expertise, there is information that they have and are willing to offer, and we want to work with them. So I was talking with folks in the Mises Caucus, one in particular on the ground in Wisconsin, and it ended up being a case, a really surprising moment that illustrates how very far past unifactionalism we are, even within the Mises Caucus. The individual I was talking with asked if I would be willing to have the Mises Caucus nominate me for secretary. And of course, alarm bells go off just naturally when you hear that, because you're thinking, well, is this going to be a kind of spoiler thing? Am I going to be used for another ticket? All of that. But we quickly determined that was unlikely to be a risk insofar as nominations came from the floor. And if there was a third person that was nominated, I could just easily withdraw. So I have a political rule. I have a few rules for political survival. One of which is say yes to positions of authority that are offered to or created for you. And I did not intend to volunteer for that position, but I did indeed accept that preliminary nomination. So I had the unanimous support of the Mises Caucus, and that was an interesting conversation to have with the non-Mises folks, and we had a couple of them. But when it got to convention, I was in fact not nominated by the Mises Caucus. Unfortunately, the guy who was supposed to nominate me was sitting toward the back of the room. Tim Krenz, the acting chair of LP Wisconsin, came to the microphone and nominated me instead. So that was very unanimous support. Why I'm telling this story is because it shows that there are people in the Mises Caucus who don't care about factional warfare. They just want to move forward. And we should really be working to differentiate the people who are still stuck in that kind of old reactionary mentality of monocaucus rule from people who are just done with corruption and who want to move forward and have a different ideology. Would show it was unanimous. So who have a different ideology. And I can guarantee you that the Mises Caucus, the guy who was prepared to nominate me and I, because we talked a lot over the weekend, we do not agree a lot on many things, but we do agree on some important stuff, and we're willing to work together. So what I saw in Wisconsin was very, very heartening. There's definitely tension, but it's tension that is oriented.
You, Joe, now.
Fuck you, Joe. It's tension that's oriented towards toward moving the party forward, and ultimately we did get a non-Mises slate in there. And it was, again, like I said, it was a very unexpected moment, especially for someone like me who has not been shy in calling out some of the dealings of Mises Caucus leadership. It shows you that this old era of hyper-factionalism is dead. Caucuses are one thing, right? Caucuses, I support. I especially support when you have an ideologically oriented party. We can have that discussion some other time. Factions, though, that seek to completely overtake the party are not good and are not being tolerated even within the former faction itself and the people who are still aligned ideologically with that erstwhile faction. Yeah, Tim, it's a movement. It is absolutely a movement, and it's fun to be a part of. Just on a side note as well, at LP Wisconsin,
You know that he was talking about the "fuck you, Joe" movement, right?
Yes,
Okay,
I was.
just making sure.
But see, you ruined it for me. You ruined
Yeah, I did.
it.
I'm
Thanks,
glad.
Kyle.
I'm for this. There's
yeah.
only 2 days left to vote, but we should add "fuck you, Joe" as an option for the 2026 Grand Rapids Convention theme.
We should. I was trying to spin that into like propaganda for us, and you ruined it.
Yeah. We were asked for funny jokes, and we said at the beginning, Joe was our jokes.
Okay, fine. Well, fuck you, Joe. We will be the fuck you, Joe caucus. No, on a side note, we also had the Libertarian Party Wisconsin convention blessed by a porcupine. There's a porcupine who came to visit us, a real life living porcupine in a tree, and that was wonderful.
It completely changed Amanda's hope for us becoming the Russian circus bears over to being porcupine friendly.
I didn't want us to be Russian circus bears. That's never what I volunteered. So that was Wisconsin. And again, even within that tension, there's still camaraderie, right? People still had conversations. People still talked after the convention. I saw a real desire to put prior tensions and put prior, feuds behind people. And that was good. That was, again, like I said, very, very heartening. And it is a movement, by the way.
Most of my movements come in the morning. So, last but certainly not least, I believe we have where we can take us home, West Virginia. Right? I'm not crazy. Is that correct?
Were you making a Country Roads reference? We did not talk about West Virginia. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's going to take us home.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
On
so, West Virginia.
Yes, West Virginia. West Virginia was a big old win. While we had been reaching out to some people, they had a lot more going on than we knew about. It's sort of like how the Delaware situation was, but we were much better informed there and knew what was going on much quicker. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We originally Ken Mulman was going to go show up and have some fun in West Virginia, and then he got busy. But we had enough people who were still there to give us good information about what was going on, and it was a lot of fun. It was another very smooth running convention where LPA backed folks were the victory. So hard to argue with that.
And again, you had most of the insider information, and I was up, like I said, in upstate Wisconsin without much of a phone connection. I also had a broken shoe.
Sent you a text?
You did. I also had a broken shoe, so I was about to be like Toad, and I was about to give a candidate speech barefoot. But fortunately, when you're at a convention, people have gorilla tape. So I very classily, I don't think anyone even noticed. I'm sure everyone did. I very classily gorilla taped the strap of my shoe back to the base of it, and all was well. So that's the good thing about conventions is you have camouflage gorilla tape there.
I think that is the majority of what I would like to say for the evening. Is there anything else you really wanted touch on tonight, or
There is not. And I think we've taken care of the most. Kyle does need a leather jacket. We've taken care of the most pressing
I
pressing
have a
stuff.
leather jacket.
You should wear it for the cast. You should
Nah.
wear it. Yeah, you should.
It would offend
Um,
Amanda if I wore it.
Well, I mean, you already have it.
But you don't know that until you see it.
Well, I do. I know it now. All right. So, question for you, Kyle.
Oh no.
Yeah. What is we have to, so libertarians for non-libertarians? Can we go back to the book question, or have you exhausted all the books that you know how to read? Non-libertarian book that libertarians should read.
I read all the time.
Yeah, I know. That was
Yeah. I read fantasy.
Would you like to recommend one of those?
If I'm ever physically on Swampcast, I will show up in Assless Chaps just for Tim. What's the worst neighboring state to Georgia? Florida. Easy. I know that's like 4 of our folks there who are in our chat and doing well, but y'all are terrifying. That's what y'all are.
The worst neighboring state to Wisconsin is Iowa. I just say that because it has the least number of cities, and I like cities.
Why is Florida the worst? Everything that Florida touches gets ruined. Oceans dying. Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America
becomes renamed.
Fucking Florida is where the football team goes. They go down to Florida, and you got to see jorts. Men shouldn't be in jorts. It's not right. It's just not right. As soon as you cross that line, everyone drives stupid. Either they're young and driving hyper fast and terrifying, or they're ancient and doing 25 like they're still on a tractor. It's not acceptable. Florida just needs to stay down there and not touch Georgia.
And with that, I guess that took care of our question. So your answer is Florida. My answer is Iowa. We have defended our positions. All right. Thank you so much. Oh, one thing to plug. On May 3rd, Kyle and I will be speaking with the chair of the Libertarian Party, Stephen Nikela, in case you haven't heard of him. So we will be sitting down and talking with Stephen Nikela. We're looking forward to that. And that is May 3rd at our normal time. That is 8 Eastern. And the reason everything's put in Eastern is because of those of you on the East Coast don't know how to convert times. So we do it for you. 8 Eastern, 7 Central. That's you, Kyle.
We just don't need to convert time over here because Eastern's correct.
So do tune in on May 3rd, and we'll be talking with Stephen. And we will obviously be taking your questions. So thank you guys for tuning in. And Kyle, what?
But I had another book.
Okay. Oh, okay. Tell me your book.
I'm going to throw it back to like a legit children's book, like a young adult novel. There's the Kate series by We Better Ask Tough Questions. I mean, yeah.
Hi.
We're going to ask him questions like, who's his favorite communist? Does he like our communist red? Is he willing to be a Trotskyist with Amanda? They can wear the same leather jacket together.
We're never getting through an episode without a reference to me being a Trotskyist again. I have accepted this.
But the Kate series by T.A. Barron is awesome. Despite being an adult and having read much better books at this point, the Ancient One is still to this day one of my absolute favorite books. I read it like dozens of times. Literally, I bought 2 different copies, and I'm one of those people that will not tear books up. I read like barely cracking the books, and I destroyed the spine in 2 different copies. And that's how many times I read it. His Merlin Saga is much better known. That's the one that got popular, but it's not nearly as good. So
Joe recommends Art of the Deal, by the way. Joe Hanush recommends Art of the Deal.
I believe, I guess, okay, I'm going to throw in a news note here. Did y'all see that Did y'all see the title of the book for McCardle?
That book also lives in Canada.
She's working on the heart of the deal, y'all. The heart of the deal.
I love it when people SWF fascists.
Right?
Yeah.
I have a poll up that's live for another like 12 hours for anybody who wants to join in on whether or not people will buy it and whether or not she'll ship any copies to go along with her anti-trans mega plan. I think this is a very important question, maybe the most important question of our time. And you should go cast a vote, clearly.
Kyle, who's your favorite communist?
My favorite communist?
Uh-huh. His favorite state communist. You can't do anarcho-communist. That's a cop-out.
Okay. That would be cheating. I understood the question.
Okay.
I probably have to go with fuck. I can't think of his name. Castro's brother, Fidel Castro's brother, Raul Castro.
Yeah.
Because the man is just as evil as his brother in every way. He's no dumber than his brother, but he just stayed out of the spotlight until the other guy died. So like Fidel Castro's in the history books as being like horrible, brutal dictator. Raul Castro got to do all the horrible things and didn't get any of the fucking notoriety. Didn't have to, like, he doesn't go down in history as the evil, terrible one. I mean, Raul's dead now, but he wasn't. He took over when Fidel died.
Did you see what Devin said? Did you throw that up on the screen? Devin's favorite communist is Dick Cheney. His favorite state communist is Dick Cheney.
That's fair. It's he did do his best to throw other communists out of life using a shotgun and blasting his friends in the face.
And with that, we will conclude this evening's installment. This is a 4 L weekends. What? I'm sorry.